my friends, and welcome back to Ration Nerd, where today we are going to endeavor to put our pancreas into full overdrive by trying to consume the contents of this Russian winter ration. This thing is pretty honkin', really large. I have not yet been able to determine if this is an actual military ration or just a civilian ration. I have heard several different things, that it is produced by the same company that makes Russian military rations. It's available to the public, but it's used in the military. I don't really know. Bottom line is, this is a ration. It's from Russia. It's got the bat in the bucket, and that must mean that there's gloopy, gelatinous meat products in it. Who knows? We are going to bust into this. We're absolutely going to have a good time. It's the third time I've filmed this intro, and because I'm a consummate professional and an absolutely epic videographer, I already tore the bottom of the bag off in a previous filming of this video and then went ahead and deleted it because I'm super smart. And if you are super smart, you could help me by doing me a favor and hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and tell me how stupid I am in the chat, because, you know, sometimes I kind of feel that way. So let me do a little hakada ping. Talk to me in the chat. It's always a good time to hear from you guys. Let's get into this ration and check out what is on the plate today for 24 hours of Russian goodness. Now, in the wintertime, you're going to need a whole lot more calories, and they certainly didn't stiff us in that department, because this thing is coming in at a pretty whopping 5,037 calories. Holy shit, Batman. That's a lot of calories. This ought to be a really fun day. My pancreas is going to be squirting like a little son of a bitch in there, working overtime, squirt, 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 squirt. So this ration was produced in 2023 and expired in October 2024. You know how it goes. 0 shits are given during the filming of this ration review. So let's bust into this thing and see what we get in this honkin' Russian winter ration. I really dig this like winter camo bag. That's pretty awesome. And the bat in the bucket, you know how that is. You get the bat with the bucket and you get the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Not really sure how that works. I think that's cultural appropriation. That's like the Russians stealing from the Irish. That's a bunch of bullshit. So let's slide that. Look at that. And it's even like a winterized white cardboard box. I don't know. Sounded good. So let's see what is in this big old box of serious caloric intake. All right. And right off the bat, we got some pretty cheesy, shitty napkins. You are not wiping your ass with that. Maybe a booger and a half with what's here. Certainly 0 butt wipes, maybe 1.5 boogers, and I guess you could kind of wipe your face with that. Depends on how much of a mess you make out of your face. What do we have here? This is interesting. Ha! We've got 3 hand warmers. That's a really cool fucking ration item, if I'm being fair. It's cold. It's wintertime. This is a winter ration. You're probably going to be freezing those fingers off. And here you go. Now you get to actually feel your fingers while you are rifling through your ration components. That's actually a really cool ration component. All right, and right out of the gate, we've got some pea soup with smoked meat. These certainly look like civilian items to me. I am completely not upset by that. However, I'm not 100% sure if this is a real military ration. They may use it, as stated before, but we have some pea soup with smoked meat. And then we have some raspberry breakfast muesli. Looking forward to that. That looks pretty good. At least the packaging makes it look good. And what's this? And we have some instant mashed potatoes made by Mr. Prestone right there. Look at that guy. He looks like he's a happy little chef. And we have a package of peanuts. That is never a bad thing to have in a ration, a pack of peanuts. They're yummy. They fill you up. They keep you from being hungry. You can eat them on the move. Peanuts are always good. Peanuts are in the house. I'm definitely going to have to move this box off to the side. Shit's getting busy already. Then we have 3 of these sterilizing wipes. Not too bad. That's certainly not a military brand of sterilizing wipe. If you've seen any of my other ration review videos, that certainly looks civilian to me. And this is pretty cool. These translate to Adapto Fight. So I will spell that up on the screen for you guys so you can see what I saw in the translator. These remind me of the vitamin enhanced beverages you get in a regular Russian military ration. Then we have a really big ass bag of diabetes. They said screw packaging it separately. We're just going to give you a big ass 30-gram pack of sugar. So there's 30 grams of diabetes for your pancreas's displeasure. And then if the pancreas wasn't taking enough of a hit as it is, we have a big ass package of sweetened condensed milk. That is 100 grams of sweetened condensed milk. This is a really happy ration nerd. Sweetened condensed milk is really awesome. Really going to look forward to putting this in some coffee if I get it, and I do spy with my little eye. Meanwhile, over here to my left, we've got a lonely little pack of that badass Russian coffee. So this is awesome. We got some Russian coffee going on to go with this sweetened condensed milk. It's morning time. I haven't had it. You know I need it. This makes my testicles tingle a little bit. That is a pack of Russian coffee. And to this guy, that is a pack of freeze-dried fucking goodness right there. And so far, we only have one of those standard Russian black tea bags. And then I thought I was getting ready to say, hey guys, we have 2 packs of apple jam. Nope, we have 1 pack of apple jam, which is your Russian standard. Then we have a big 30-gram pack of tomato sauce. Pretty cool, nifty little ration add-on. I certainly wouldn't want to get those two confused. You were holding one of your Russian biscuits and expecting a big old squirt of apple, and you get a big old squirt of, like, well, basically ketchup. Not cool. And you do get 4 packs of biscuits in this ration. These things have had the ever-loving shit beat out of them by the shipping process, so we'll be lucky if we get a couple of whole biscuits to put out on the tray. Every single one of these has absolutely seen better days. This isn't the standard Russian labeling I'm accustomed to, so maybe either they've changed their labeling or this is just the civilian version of the packaging. And we have 3 pieces of that Russian gum that if you're not careful with, you will break a tooth and or possibly dislocate your jaw on. So we have 3 pieces of chewing gum. Not too shabby. And I was absolutely wrong. This is not sugar. This is 30 grams of dry milk. So that's pretty awesome. I was about ready to go on like a super diabetes rant when I realized that I screwed that up. That is dry milk, which is absolutely awesome. And there's no shortchanging your diabetes in this ration because here is your 60 grams of sugar. And you have your standard Russian Esbit stove along with 3 Esbit tablets. These do not have the strikers on them, so you would have to have a pack of matches to light these, but you have a tiny little Esbit stove for all your ration table burning pleasure. Then we have a multivitamin. Hell yeah, multivitamin. And we have a standard pack of Russian windproof, waterproof matches. These are absolutely badass. And then we have another pack of that tomato sauce, which is actually kind of cool. I mean, giving you lots of ways to keep it interesting. 2 packs of that tomato sauce, not just 1. And then we have 3 lime green spoons. That's pretty cool. These are way better than your standard Russian military spoon. The edges of these are not sharp and ready to cut your lips. They're a little bit flexible. I don't want to push it too much or I'll be breaking it in half. However, this is a drastic improvement over your standard Russian utensil. These are actually going to work out pretty decent. And we have that fruit and nut bar, which I happen to personally absolutely love the Russian fruit and nut bars. They're amazeballs. Then we have a really large pack of this Russian chocolate nut spread. That looks pretty amazing. It does feel like it's hardened up quite a bit. We'll see when we get inside of it. I have a feeling even if it's hardened up, as long as there's nothing wrong with it, we'll just eat it like a big ass piece of fudge. Otherwise, we'll try to like mix it up with some cracker dust or see if we can find a cracker hunk big enough to put that fucker on there. This stuff ought to be pretty amazing. A little chocolate nut spread action. Ooh, and then we have a big ass soft tin of liver pate with butter. That is absolutely awesome. Love me some Russian liver pate. I don't even care if it is made by a little bat and bucket guy. This is going to be an amazing part of my day. I may have to go fetch some extra biscuits from somewhere because these are in no condition to hang on to that liver pate. I'm very excited about it. Between the liver pate and the coffee, well, I'm pretty goddamn excited about this ration. I did do a little reorganizing there, pardon me for that. Then we have a can of pearl porridge with beef. Not too bad. That's looking like a 250 gram can. Yeah, these Russian civilian cans always kind of skeeve me out. Take a look around the rim of that can. Like there is some serious like dots, O marks and things that just kind of like weird me out with the Russian civilian canning process. Not real sure what that's all about, but we'll get over it. Then we have another 250 gram can of peas with beef. That sounds actually really good to me. Then we have a can of stewed beef. Not going to fool me this time. I am so going to have this in conjunction probably with one of the other kasha items. And this can doesn't look anywhere near as dotted and rusty as that first one. So, hey, I'll take it where I can get it. Then we have an 80 gram tin of that awesome Russian processed cheese. And I say awesome because as far as getting cheese in a ration goes, this is pretty much the only way you're getting it in there. Just like the Australian cheese I have sitting up here, it's always going to be a processed cheese. You just can't put a big natural hunk of cheese in a ration, so you just have to get over that. But as far as processed cheese goes, this stuff is pretty decent. And this is a 100 gram can of red beans in tomato sauce. Not real sure what that is. Never had it before. It being in this small can, I would imagine it's something you're probably supposed to eat cold. Maybe add to one of the mains. Maybe just swipe it right on a biscuit. Who knows? I don't. We're going to give it a try though. And we have a decent sized pack of salt and an actually really full package of pepper. Really cool. Then we have 3 water purification tablets. Water purification is always good and smart. And according to what script I'm actually able to translate off of here, it looks like each one of these is good for 1 liter of water. I'm not 100% sure because a lot of the writing on here is cut right down the center. So we have 3 water purification tablets. We got some destructions. Ain't nobody need no destructions. And then last but not least, there was 1 other lonely tea bag hanging out in the bottom there, bringing you up to a grand total of 2 tea bags. That's absolutely awesome. That's everything out of the box. Well, guys, what you are looking at right here is 5,000 calories of Russian goodness. If you need 5,000 calories in a day, I'm pretty sure this will have you covered as long as everything is edible. We'll figure that out as the day goes on. I'm really excited about getting some coffee with some sweetened condensed milk, getting some breakfast out onto a tray, and then I will be right back. All right, so this is what we decided to munch on for breakfast. We have a pack of those smashed up, crashed up biscuits. We have some liver pate. You know I couldn't wait. We have that sweetened condensed milk, not only to go with breakfast cereal, but also to go with that coffee. Hell yeah. We're going to put some of this powdered milk in that breakfast cereal. We have that fruit and nut bar, and I think that ought to tide me over till I get to have a bitchin' lunch and put a bunch of these other components to the test. But you know what time it is. It's that time. It's that magic time. It's totally time to make a goddamn cup of coffee because I haven't had it yet, and it's too early in the morning for this no coffee having shit. So first thing we're going to do is get Nature's Wonder out into this cup over here, and apparently not without a knife. That's okay. That's why we have a knife. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And that is a decent looking freeze-dried coffee. Take a look at that. And we'll get that most excellent Russian black tea doing its thing over here on the left. That Russian tea always smells amazeballs. That's good stuff. Get your pour on in the morning. That's what I'm talking about. Coffee time, tea time. Yes, that makes me really excited. And just so the tea doesn't feel left out, we've got a whole bunch of this granulated diabetes over here. We're going to get some of that, and we're going to dress that tea up. I have a feeling we will not need it with the coffee. The sweetened condensed will do a fine job of that on its own. Give that a little dab of the diabetes. Sweetened condensed. I like it. I like it a lot. No odd smells. That's good shit. Let's get that out onto a spoon so we can check it out. I wonder if there's like a little plug in the end there. Okay, come on now. Oh, there it is. It was like a sweetened condensed plug. Yeah. Oh, well, I'm not real sure. Check that out. Got your little plug of sweetened condensed milk in there. That's interesting. We're going to throw that right in the face. See if that little plug is just mildly dehydrated or maybe it's a little off. I don't know. Let's find out. Absolutely amazing. Sweet, creamy, sweetened condensed yumminess. That big plug of sweetened condensed milk was like eating a damn piece of candy. That's amazing. Going back for spoonful number 2. That's so good. Now it's time to hook up that coffee with some sweetened condensed. Absolutely. Making a mess. Making a mess. That is all right. I'm really excited about having a good cup of coffee for breakfast this morning. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be creamy. It's going to roll some R's. It's Russian as hell. That is all right because this is good quality instant coffee. And we'll give that tea a little steep because it needs a little bit more time to do its thing before we bother it any. We will get in there and stir that sugar up though. Excellent. Before we do anything else, you know, we got to get a sip of this goddamn coffee because it is calling my name. It is screaming out to me in a language I can't understand, but that's okay because I know exactly what it's saying. It's saying, drink me, bitch. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. That is what I'm talking about in the morning. I really wish the Russians would put more packs of coffee in their rations. I know coffee is not nearly as much of a Russian thing as it is an American thing. I really so wish it was, though. That coffee is an excellent instant coffee. I could drink that every morning and not be unhappy about it, especially if it came with a big fat 100-gram sack of sweetened condensed milk. I would love that with the sweetened condensed milk added. As far as rations go, that's fucking gourmet. Absolutely excellent. I can't get enough of that stuff. It is so good. Now we got to get this muesli hydrating, and that just kind of looks like oatmeal. That's okay. Not a very large portion. Oh, that has a really, really awesome smell. Really smells like definitely a mix of natural raspberry smell and artificial, which I'm completely okay with, especially if it makes that muesli taste yummy. This is only 37 grams of muesli. We'll see what it mixes into. Probably not a whole lot, and I have a feeling we have enough calories on the tray to get us through breakfast. I'm not a big eater in the morning anyway, so this is going to be more food than what I would normally ever tackle at this time in the morning. So since we have such a small portion of muesli, I don't think I'm going to just be able to add all 30 grams of this dry milk in there. We will add some though. Even though I'm going to add some sweetened condensed to it, let's give that a smell first to see if it survived. Absolutely, that smells like dried milk. Let's get a little bit of this stuff in our muesli. That ought to make a really nice addition to the breakfast, and we really are just going to have to make a cup of dried milk later because that is a lot of powdered milk for that little bit of muesli, so we'll save him for later. I like my muesli a little bit on the thick side, so I'm going to go easy on the water, at least at first, until I figure out, we'll drown it, what the hell. And we'll get that all stirred up so we can figure out how much this muesli is going to explode once it hydrates. I put way too much water in that for my liking, but we do have some dry ingredients that can help make up for that fact, so we'll just plop some more of this milk in there to help absorb some of that water that I really didn't need to add. So not only would it help to soak up some of that water, it adds additional calories and protein to this morning dish. I know I needed that like a hole in the head, but if you're in a winter environment, you need all the calories you can possibly get, so adding some dry milk to your breakfast cereal, probably not the worst idea ever. All right, now while that's hydrating and doing its thing, let's see if we can pull any decent biscuits out of here. I guess first we ought to give them the Russian biscuit sniff check. You know, and oddly enough, those just smell like stale biscuits. They certainly do not smell like the Russian military biscuits because these things actually smell normal. They might smell a little on the stale side, but they don't have that crazy rancid Russian biscuit smell. That's kind of refreshing if I'm being honest. You know what, just so we can say we got every calorie out of this ration, we'll take the rest of these crumbs and we'll just chuck them in our breakfast cereal, because why not? Because we're so trying to make it through a harsh winter environment. We don't want to leave any calories behind, do we? And while that's hydrating, and so I can put the cap on this thing before I make a mess out of the ration table, we're going to do a little drizzle of that sweetened condensed on there, or maybe a lot of drizzle. Who am I kidding? A little diabetes for breakfast never hurt anybody, except for, well, diabetics, I guess. But, you know, I think it should be mandatory in all nations that you get at least 100 grams of sweetened condensed milk with every ration. I think it just should be an international standard. Soldiers deserve it. Sweetened condensed milk is amazing. I don't know anybody that doesn't like it. And now we're going to get into this liver pate with butter. The fight is real. Come on out of there. Oh, yeah. Oh, I can smell that from over here. It smells amazing. It's nice and soft because I keep sticking my fingers in it trying to get the cover off of this thing. And that is a good looking liver pate right there. Liver pate with butter. I'm pretty excited. You know, I was just going to plop that out on the tray, but I want to try to save some of that for later if I don't get through all of it with breakfast. Let's get this fruit bar out and rocking along here. And I'm pretty sure this bar is not only to entertain you with its tastiness, it's probably also included in the ration, because this is going to definitely move those bowels. All right, and this is not a very impressive portion of muesli in the morning, but let's get some of that up to the camera so you can see what we're working with here. It certainly does not look like there's any raspberry pieces in there. It does have a really nice smell though. Take a look at that. I mean, it's ooey, it's gooey, it's got sweetened condensed and powdered milk in it. What could possibly go wrong? We're putting that in the face. And that's crazy. The grains are a little on the soft side, even for an instant breakfast cereal. That's okay, though. They're not bad. Quite honestly, this has an amazing taste of a berry-flavored kid cereal. I shit you not. This really tastes kind of like Frankenberry or Boo Berry, maybe like a mix of the two put together. It really doesn't taste like raspberries. It tastes like a generic fruity kid cereal, which is pretty crazy, and it's actually really yummy. It's actually really good. A little bit on the soft side, even for an instant cereal. It's still really yummy, though. This would be really easy to put down in the morning if you were already really hungry. And that sweetened condensed milk really helps it pop and make it actually really tastes like a kid's breakfast cereal. It's so sweet in the form it's in right now. It's kids breakfast cereal muesli. And let's try some with these crunchy old cracker bits over here. See what that does to it. Probably not much. That's okay though. Had to use them up somehow. I mean, it's a winter ration. We need all these calories, damn it. Every last one. Giggle, giggle. Not a bad look at all. If you made this the way that I did, and that was just really too sweet for you, you could get all your cracker dust and just dump it in your muesli and pretty much like almost negated the sweetness, just completely deleted the sweetness out of that bite. That's pretty crazy. Considering there's a pretty decent portion of sweet and condensed on there, that's a pretty amazing property for just some cracker dust. I really do like this breakfast cereal, just simply because it reminds me of a bowl of cereal when I was a child. It's just insane. I will have to say though, if you if you get one of these rations and you get the liver pate, do yourself a solid. If you're not doing a review on it, open the liver pate after you have your cereal, because although I love the smell of that liver pate, it is a little off-putting when you have this super sweet berry flavor like hitting your nose, and then right behind it like a smack of liver pate. Not the greatest look ever as far as like, you know, fucking your nose up. Pro tip, leave the pate for after the breakfast cereal. Even though I have my suspicions that this was not naturally flavored, I give about 0 shits because that was actually really yummy. I really wish there was more of it. That was absolutely yummy. Let's get a bite of this fruit and nut bar before we proceed. This is super thick, very sticky, lots of fruit and nuts all smashed up into this very dark, very sweet, very sticky affair of a bar. Let's get a bite of that. And that tastes heavily of plums and figs. I can't really tell you exactly what nuts are in there, and you don't really need to know. They're almost like indiscriminate. They could be walnuts, they could be pecans, they could be cashews, they could be peanuts. You don't really know. They're just kind of there. They're adding some protein and texture. Otherwise, that is a huge, really soft fruit chew. It's amazing. It tastes like plums, apples, figs. It's just really good. Very soft, very chewy, very yummy, calorie dense. This thing is absolutely banging. And some more steep action. It's time for that tea to get its day in court. Russian tea, that shit will never let you down. It's always really good. As always, that's an excellent quality tea. Takes really well, as far as I'm concerned, to having some sugar added. I'm not really a big fan of cream in my tea. If you were, you could certainly add some sweet and condensed to it. But for me, just some sugar in that is pretty amazing. Absolutely great tea. We're going to clean our palate with a little bit more of this coffee, and then we're moving on to that pate. Did I happen to mention how amazing this goddamn Russian coffee is? It is a shame that we cannot provide our soldiers here in the United States with a quality cup of coffee like that. Personally, I feel like they deserve it. That Russian coffee, absolutely amazing. With the addition of that sweet and condensed, that's gourmet coffee action in the morning. On to the other gourmet portion of this ration. For me, I could pretty much stop right here. I've had my coffee, I've had pate for the day. I could be done, but we're going to get through this whole thing. We are going to power through all 5,000 calories together. I don't know what condition I'm going to be in this evening. I have a feeling it's going to be a little rough, but that's okay, because that's the type of things I do to sacrifice for you guys. But this right here, this is not in any way, shape, or form any kind of sacrifice. This is about to be an absolutely joyous occasion as I tell you guys, it's pate time, bitches. Absolutely amazing. Really excellent flavor. Very mild liver flavor. The butter that's added to this is a really nice addition. Makes it super smooth and creamy. I actually think you get more of it in this configuration, which is always a plus. These biscuits, I think the Russian government should put some serious thought into switching over to this brand. I mean, these things are a few months out of date. They taste completely fresh. Nothing off-putting. They're not even salted. They're just a very bland flour biscuit. They do, however, have a nice toast on them. They're very good vessels for just about anything you put on them. I imagine you could put anything sweet on there, which we'll try later, and savory like we're doing right now. And these biscuits are going to be a total win. And somehow or the other, they were made out of flour that either wasn't rancid at the factory or didn't go rancid during the shipping, packaging, and storage process. So that's completely a biscuit win, especially when you pair it with something as yummy as fucking liver pate. Hell yeah. That is so good. If you're not a big fan of pate, like one of the farmhouse pates out of a Dutch ration would probably be the way to start yourself off. But once you develop a taste for this stuff, you begin to realize how excellent this Russian liver pate is. And these rations, oh man, that stuff is really good. Really high in iron, all kinds of other vitamins and minerals, and it's a whole bunch of protein and fat that a soldier's going to need to get him through the day. Starting your day off with pate is probably the way to go. Well, all right, guys. That was breakfast. I'm going to sit here and probably finish off the rest of these biscuits with that pate, sip on that tea, and try to figure out what in the hell I'm having for lunch. But I'll see you guys back here in 3 or 4 hours where we get into some lunch and have some more fun. Maybe there'll be a little bit of pate left over for lunch. Probably not, but we'll see. And welcome back to lunch, everybody. Pay no mind to the herd of elephants you're hearing in the background. That's just people upstairs raffle stomping the house while I'm trying to shoot a video. It happens. There's not much I can do about it. Sometimes you just gotta roll with it. So if you hear the background noise, my most sincere apologies. But anyway, we're gonna crack in to some serious lunch together. We're going to try that peas with beef. We're going to get our mashed potatoes on, have some of that processed cheese to go with these biscuits. We also have some of that apple jam to go with the biscuits, which is awesome. And we have some tomato sauce, which we're going to try out with our beef and peas and mashed taters. We also have one of those fortified tonic drinks to get into. That ought to be pretty cool. First and foremost, we need to get our ration stove set up over here because we're only going to do one of these meals on this tiny little ration stove. And as you will notice, I have added an accessory to the ration table to stop me from being a retard and burning holes in the table. We have this nice big old piece of quartz countertop over here, so we'll get our Esbit stove bent up. Wow, this one is even thinner than like your standard Russian Esbit stove. This thing is really, really chintzy. Wow. Okay, so that looks like about it. And we'll get one of these Esbit tablets chunked right down in the center there. And these really badass windproof waterproof matches. We'll break these out and get this Esbit tablet going. I should have some safety glasses on because last time I lit one of these things, that sumbitch like shot some stuff all over me and the ration table, but let's see how we can do this time. Those things really are excellent, and that is going to get that tablet lit right off the bat. All right, while that's doing its thing and stanking up my environment, let's check out these peas with beef. Maybe I should have said beans with beef. I'm down with either or. Check that out. That looks, it looks like something. So we'll get that on some heat. We'll let that heat up before we pass judgment on it. That is going to be extraordinarily difficult to stir on that tiny little weak-ass ration stove. That's kind of a bummer. So get our processed cheese out. There's really no other way to do it for a ration, and to be fair, this Russian processed cheese isn't all that bad. Has a little bit of that processed cheese flavor to it, but it's really not hateful, all things considered, especially when you're getting this inside of a daily ration. I really thought I was going to get that to flop out on the tray like one big cheese puck, but it is not cooperating. So in the tin it stays. And it sounds like the peas with beef are going to chase us around, so we might want to hurry the hell up. Get these mashed potatoes mixed up. And make an absolute fucking mess while you're at it. That's okay, you guys are used to that by now. We need a new utensil. Oh, I guess we try to give this a little poke. Fire extinguisher is handy. New piece of quartz countertop is keeping the table from getting burnt. This kind of looks like stirring a can of cat food. That's okay though. Who doesn't like a good can of cat food for lunch? Me? These mashed potatoes do look pretty decent though. We have some seasoning floating around in there. Seasoning is always good rather than just plain old smashed potatoes. We got some big old potato hunks in there. That felt like a real actual piece of freeze-dried potato. That's pretty crazy. Let's get some of these dusty ass broken crackers out. I got really lucky. I think I picked the best pack for breakfast, and that's okay because breakfast had pate and pate needed biscuits. So let's check out pack number 2, see how much of a mess we can make with these. Pretty decent mess, apparently. That is a big cracker chunk and dust mess is what that is. Can we stir this up just a little bit more before we burn the shit out of it? I'm not really sure. All right, while we're giving that a last few seconds to heat up before it scorches, let's get this tonic drink out and mixed up. I kind of hope this is the yellow flavor. That's my favorite. I don't know what the yellow flavor is supposed to be. Looks like we got some kind of berry flavor. Smells amazing. It's definitely caked up quite a bit. Smells like cotton candy. It does not smell like any of the Russian drinks I've had before, so maybe this really is a civilian version. Although I have to say, thus far, I've been really impressed with this as a Russian civilian ration. As you've seen in some of my other reviews, Russian civilian stuff can be pretty fucking janky. This one has been on point so far. And we are definitely going to need something clean to stir that drink up because that spoon is nowhere near clean, and I don't really want any I don't really want any beef and peas in my Russian cotton candy drink or whatever the hell flavor this is supposed to be. Meanwhile, we got this Polish can grabber we'll snatch up here. Look at that. Nice place to sit it down without burning the ration table. Sorry if that disappoints you that you're not going to see me like putting the table out with a fire extinguisher, but stay tuned. That could certainly still happen. So let's get this. Wow. This definitely mistranslated. This is beans. This is totally not peas. You have a little bit of the burn on the bottom. That's okay. That might actually add some flavor. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to scrape a little bit of that out to see if I'm just missing some good, yummy burnt flavor off the bottom of that can. You never know. Certain dishes have a really good flavor to them when they're burnt. This could totally be one of them. And we got to hydrate those mashed potatoes, which usually does not take that long. So these should be ready in just a second to have with dinner. I mean, most people have made instant mashed potatoes. If you're one of those people that doesn't do anything for yourself, instant mashed potatoes, it is always better to put a little bit of water in and add as needed instead of put too much water in. But at that point, unless you have more instant mashed potatoes, you're kind of screwed. All right, well, this looks like a hot mess. Let's give that drink another swirl to try to get that all mixed up 100%. So this really looks like a big, messy-ass plate of food, and it totally is. Maybe the peas with beef was not the best idea to have with mashed potatoes, but we went with it, so that's what we're having. So first things first, let's get a little nibble of these peas, or beans with beef, which is what I really think the translator meant to say. Looks like there's like one hunk of beef floating around in here, but it's mostly beans. And it looks like there's some carrots in here. Other than that one hunk of what I think is a piece of beef in there, this is mostly just like refried beans with kind of mushy carrots added. Take a look at that. It really looks like a bite of refried beans, if you ask me. We'll get a bite of it, and we'll see what it tastes like. That is a little bland. Definitely tastes like beans. Does not taste like peas. Got to get in here and try to decipher. That's like one piece of beef, so I guess you can... And there's another small piece. I guess you can say there's beef in here if you put a single piece, which is pretty much what you have. Just not a whole lot. That's okay, though. This is still going to be calorie dense. It is going to be filling, especially with the mashed potatoes. Before we salt and pepper these mashed potatoes, let's give those a bite. I mean, those are some pretty standard-looking instant mashed potatoes. Not too bad. For instant mashed potatoes, those have a really nice savory flavor. The herbs in there are really, really nice. Bring a great flavor to some relatively cheap instant mashed potatoes. That said, they're still going to get some salt and pepper. The peas with beef are definitely going to get some salt and pepper. And we're going to rock out some tomato sauce here shortly. I really do love the fact that they actually give you a way to season the food in here. That's an amazing concept. Lots of other countries should jump in on the bandwagon. And definitely some pepper. Look at that. Nice big old pepper flakes. You know, if I had really been thinking, I probably should have taken some of that dried milk and added it to the mashed potatoes. I bet you that would have made these mashed potatoes way better. That's definitely a lesson learned right there. So let's give these both a try with some salt and pepper added, and we have a little piece of that burnt crunchy bit out of the can. Let's see if that's any good. Well, the burnt crunchy bit absolutely adds some flavor. The salt and pepper, very, very needed on this dish. Let's check out these mashed potatoes with a little bit of salt and pepper action. And those are way better with salt and pepper added. Now we're going to check out some of this tomato sauce just to see what this is like. We'll get a little nibble of that on its own first. And that definitely does not look like ketchup. It really looks like a tomato paste more so than ketchup. We'll get a bite of it here and see exactly what that's bringing to the table. You know, it's odd. I'm not really sure if that is bad or good, just with a lot of really odd seasonings that I'm not accustomed to. I'm going to throw caution to the wind. Maybe we don't make it back for dinner. I'm not 100% sure. That has a very, very pungent vinegar flavor. It also tastes a little bit like the packaging, so I think I'm just going to do the mashed potatoes with that. Maybe the acidity of this tomato started to eat into the packaging, and that's why it had that like kind of odd packaging flavor, but it does have a good bit of vinegar, almost like a sour vinegary tomato. It's kind of like a sour vinegar tomato sauce is what that tastes like. That's a little bit odd. I'm going to mix it into the mashed potatoes in here. See if I'm making like some E. coli mash or if I am making mashed potatoes great again. Let's find out. Let's get a little bite of that. Maybe there's some kind of pepper sauce and that tomato seasoning. Very odd. I like it and don't like it all at the same time. Almost has a little bit of a citrus aftertaste to it. It certainly jazzed up the mashed potatoes. It's weird. I like them and I don't like them all at the same time. Not sure why they would bother giving you 2 packs of that. Maybe that one just went sour? Not really sure. Definitely different. Speaking of different, it's like I just went through, snatched up every piece of beef that came with this and ate it all in one go without even showing it to you guys. Is that a little Oh, well, suffice to say, that was a very small, very soft and yummy piece of beef. And it was literally half chewed before I even knew it was there. There's just not a whole lot of beef in this dish to even speak of. This is more just like some kind of crazy refried beans mixed with carrots. It's not hateful, but it's certainly not one of those as advertised items. There's barely any beef in this, so it's pretty much just like a can of like smushed beans, which is okay, but it's just okay. Now let's try to mix these two suckers together. Let's get some of these now oddly flavored mashed potatoes and get a big old mouthful of that mess. Yeah, that tomato sauce is really odd. I can honestly say, I don't like it. Whew, this is very filling. Even in that quantity, instant mashed potatoes are very calorie dense and very filling. And this bean paste, it's very filling as well. Like this lunch meal is definitely going to knock your hunger in the dirt. Speaking of knocking my hunger in the dirt, let's grab some of this cheese out of here before I just can't eat anything else. Let's get some of that nice processed cheese out on one of these busted ass biscuits and feast your dirty little eyeballs on 2 hunks of processed Russian cheese on a biscuit. Not too shabby. You know what the great thing about this cheese is? It has a pretty strong, pungent cheese flavor, so you don't need to put that excessive amount of cheese that I just put on that biscuit, which means that that container of cheese is really going to last you through an entire pack of biscuits, if not like 1.5 packs of biscuits, which is pretty awesome. Got a good cheese flavor. I actually might chuck some of it in these beans to see if I can't rescue the beans. And it's soft enough, if you've lost your utensil or you just don't feel like it, you can just reach right in there, get you a big old booger of cheese on your biscuit, and chuck it back in your face. And let's see what this pink fortified tonic drink is bringing to the table. That really does have like a, wow, that's a great flavor. That is literally like cotton candy and roses put together. It's weird. It's so good. I need some more of that. Wow, that's great. For a vitamin fortified beverage, that is nice and sweet. It has this crazy like kaleidoscope flavor of literally, think about the way rose petals smell and the way cotton candy tastes, and you kind of mash all that together and twist it around. That's what that tastes like. Cotton candy and roses. I'm sticking to it because that is exactly what comes to mind when I put that yummy little vitamin fortified drink back in this face hole. It's like rose water and cotton candy all at the same time. That's pretty bitchin'. All right, let's see if we can't drag some cheese into this whole bean and mashed potato equation, maybe save the whole thing, because I'm just not very enamored with the whole bean and mashed potato situation. The mashed potatoes are just kind of okay. The absolute most generic package of mashed potatoes you've ever had, that's what these taste like. The seasoning on them is pretty good, but the potatoes themselves, super generic tasting. So we're going to get a little bit of that cheese, a little bit of that potato, mix everybody together. See if we can't bring some life back to this mush on the plate. It makes everything creamy, mildly cheesy. It's not horrible. Maybe if we bring a biscuit in here and give everybody some cheesy texture. I don't know. This is not the most interesting lunch I've ever had. If I were sincerely hungry, like a person would be in a real winter environment, I probably wouldn't even have noticed that this stuff doesn't taste so great because I would have eaten it so fast. But sitting here, eating it for a regular lunch when I'm not starving in a winter environment, this stuff is just kind of mediocre. It's there. It's warm. It's half decent. Tomato sauce is definitely weird. Otherwise, it's pretty substandard as far as flavor of food goes, and you don't get much in the way of texture. Not a very complicated flavor profile. It's just a bunch of warm, relatively savory items. Yeah, at least when you give this some texture, it makes it a whole lot more interesting. Yeah, buyer beware of that tomato sauce, though. Definitely get a taste of it before you just slather it in your mashed potatoes like I did, like going full retard with it. You may or may not like some of the seasoning items that come with the ration. This is certainly one of those I could have completely done without. Well, I guess this gives me a really good excuse just to dump all these biscuit hunks in there, and maybe that'll help the whole situation, or just gives us a reason to get all the calories in our face, because Lord knows I need to eat 5,000 calories today. That's a great idea. Let's just suck down 5,000 calories. What's 5,000 calories between friends? While we're making a mess, we might as well just add some big old lumps of processed cheese to the whole mix. This is gourmet right here. One thing I can say, this ration will not in any way, shape, or form leave you hungry. Because holy shit, I am full. I am so full it's not even funny. We're going to keep powering through this though. We're trying to get all 5K in one day. Provided nothing is rancid or nasty, I'm getting 5K in this body today. You want a bite? Oh, no, shit. You want a bite? You want a bite? Bite? No? Okay. Oh, I'm so glad this shit's gone. Oh, man, did I say the quiet part out loud again? God damn it. And this is a holy shit. I am full spoon drop. And then I almost forgot all about this apple jam. And we've got that chocolate nut spread to get through with dinner. Whew. So we better get some of this apple jam knocked out. This is a lot of fucking food. Holy God. All right. So we're running out of biscuits, sort of. So we're going to need to slather that on there pretty thick. But that is a really nice apple preserve or apple jam. Really nice and thick. Sticks to the biscuits, which is really nice. This stuff has always treated me good. Let's get a bite of that nice thick Russian apple jam. This is nice, has a nice apple flavor. Very, very gelatinous. Almost like you can taste the apple pectin in this stuff. It is really nice and sweet and thick. Great part about this particular batch though, not overly sweet, which I happen to enjoy. I'm starting to lose it, guys. Whew. That is one full belly I've got going on right now. Gonna get the last of this apple jam down. Just for some reason today, I have a hair up my ass to see if I can eat this whole ration in a day, because I normally only eat one meal a day. I'm feeling it right now, guys. No bullshit. I'm feeling it. And then the cheese. Oh my God. I still have a lot of items left over to eat for dinner. Oh man. I'm just gonna do the whole thing at once. Be done with that. There we go. Now we're piling it up right. I can do it. That's a lot. That is a lot of food. That drink is really good. Very unique flavor. I really enjoy that. And real quick, before we leave the lunch table, maybe we should check out this multivitamin action. There we have a little Russian multivitamin action. Now, I take a lot of supplements in the course of my normal day. I do not need this supplement in any way, shape, or form, and it's not part of the calorie portion of the ration. I just wanted to show it to you guys. I certainly do not need another supplement in my life. So that was the multivitamin. We can absolutely throw caution to the wind and check out a piece of this gum though. So there's that crazy round disc of Russian jawbreaker gum. Let's give that a chew. Be careful with your teeth, mind you. Oh yeah. I'm like chewing on an old piece of minty rubber. That gum is not bad once you get it going. Getting it started is the hard part. That is a really tough little round disc of gum. Buyer, definitely beware with that. Safeguard your teeth. You could literally fuck some teeth up on that piece of gum if you're not paying attention. Once you get it going though, it has a nice, pleasant, soft mint flavor. It's really just the starting process that makes it so weird. Well, my friends, that was lunch. I certainly wouldn't call this the best ration meal I've ever had. It was, however, extremely filling, very calorie dense, and this would certainly carry you through a long day. I wasn't really in love with any of the ration components for lunch, and that tomato sauce was pretty jacked up. I don't think I'll be making that mistake again, but that's okay. I'm going to give it about 4 or 5 hours, and we're going to have a late dinner together, because I'm going to go lay in a ball and cry for a little while, because that was a hell of a lot of food. So I'll see you guys back here for dinner. All right, everybody, welcome back to dinner. We've got, well, just about everything else out on the tray. We've got a D's nuts. We've got some of that chocolate nut spread. We've got some of that weird bean paste spread stuff we're going to get into. We have a can of pearled barley and beef kasha, as well as a can of stewed beef. Some seriously abused crackers, the remainder of the sweetened condensed milk, which is awesome, followed by some tea and one of those tonic drinks, as well as some soup. So we're going to check all this shit out. Let's start by getting those drinks mixed up. I took the liberty of adding that sugar, the remainder of that 20-gram pack of sugar, to the tea glass already. And we're going to check out some of this soup mix. Oh, nice and dusty right out of the gate. It's kind of hard to smell without like taking a snort of the dust. Doesn't smell like anything in the package. I'm not sure if I like that or not. And that tonic drink, I'm really hoping we get the same flavor, because that like cotton candy and roses flavor, that shit was banging. That was like fire. That was a great, excellent drink. I really like that. I'm really hoping. Ooh. And it smells the same. That's kind of awesome. Normally I would want a different flavor, but for this guy, that shit was way too good to even care about another flavor. Let's get some water in that soup. And that's calling for about 200 mils. And then that tea, which is calling for about, well, however much water you want to stick in it. And then we got that tonic drink where we're going to say, don't hate, hydrate. Then we're going to get our mixer on. Get that sugar mixed up in that tea, because that's always a good thing to do. And mix up that soup. All All right, let's start getting the rest of this stuff staged up and ready to consume. And we're just going to keep on powering through. Not because I need any more calories in my life after breakfast and lunch, but just because I feel like it. I have no excuse. I am not in a winter environment. I'm not even burning enough calories to justify eating this much food. We're just doing it for shits and giggles, because I just kind of want to see if I can do it. Let's crack into this bean stuff. What is the bean stuff all about? I have a feeling this is just like some kind of spread for... Ooh, squirt, squirt. I have a feeling this is just some kind of spread for crackers. I could be completely misusing this product right here. It smells kind of interesting. It looks kind of interesting. Maybe it should have been warm. I'm not 100% sure. We'll figure that out here directly. Let's get this chocolate open so we can take a look at it. And that's definitely seen some better days. It looks a little dried out, but that's all right. It just kind of looks like a piece of fudge at this point. I kind of like fudge, so we'll just leave him chilling over there until it's time to stick our spoon down in there and find out what he's got going on. Now we have 2 cans over here that are nice and hot because they were boiling pretty furiously for a while. Oh, I'm gonna melt the damn table out. So this should be the pearled barley with beef. So that pearled barley with beef, let's get this out onto the tray. This is not looking too bad. Looks a little greasy. I kind of like it greasy if I'm being honest. At least we know it has a decent fat content. Look at that. That's a pretty decent 250 gram portion. Pearled barley and beef. Not too bad looking. Actually, the barley looks really healthy. Whew. And let's check out that stewed beef, which I'm sure is just a little hunk of beef. Oh, I hope it's better than that anxious suitcase ration that I had, because that hunk of beef was hurting. Like, it was just more like a meat booger than it... Oh, this is going to be a goddamn mess. It was more like a meat booger than it was anything else. This can is certainly opening up that way. Oh come on. Oh, God, so hot. Now, I have certainly seen better cuts of beef in a ration, but I've also seen worse. And I've certainly seen worse from Russian rations, especially on the civilian side. So let's see what this big old meat glob is like. I don't know. It's kind of boogery. It's not exactly like real beef. There's definitely some booger texture to that. That's a pretty rough looking piece of meat. That's okay. It's a lot better than the last Russian civilian can we had. Whew. That was literally like just one big meat booger blob. So we're going to forego all this nice sauce in here because we really don't have anything to do with it. I mean, we could put a few spoons of that in our kasha, but I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. That kasha was nice and greasy as it is. So first, let's check out these peanuts. Let's see if these guys stood the test of time. Let's give them the sniff check. They do have a bit of an odd appearance. Let's give them a sniff. And they definitely smell a little bit stale. I could be wrong, though. Let's pop some in the face. Wait. Let's pop only a few in the face so I don't completely ruin my taste buds for the bite of that beef booger I have coming up. Let's see if these are stale or if they survived. That's funny. These are literally right on the very edge. I think another month or two in that package, and these would definitely start to spoil and turn. Right on the edge of spoiling. It's okay. They're still good. A little while longer or any like intense heat on the packaging, these things would definitely go rancid. And that packaging was kind of stout looking. I'm really surprised. Apparently, it's part of the packaging process. They're just not nitrogen purging it or removing the oxygen. So the peanuts are still oxidizing, which is what allows that nasty rancidity to get in there. There's no rancidity in these guys, but they're getting there, let me tell you. Oh, what was I thinking? I have some powdered milk to get through. So I guess we're going to have to get some powdered milk because we're trying to maximize our caloric intake for the day. Why? For me, I have no fucking clue. But we are going to chuck one of these packs of sugar in there. Make ourselves a little milkshake. We're going to have to revisit and stir that frequently. I'm very interested to see what is going on in this can of bean stuff. It's like a pretty oily in there. Like some nice, small, like light red kidney beans. I don't see any meat. There's a hell of a lot of fat in here. So, hey, I mean, that's very nutritious, especially if you need those calories. So that's pretty awesome. I'm really interested to see what this tastes like. Hey, look, we have like a little piece of bacon or ham in there. That's awesome. A little smoked meat action. So maybe this was just supposed to be like a side of beans, and I just screwed the pooch and assumed that it went on crackers, and what in the fuck is that? Okay. So this is one of those weird things where this just looks like some congealed fat, but you'll have to understand my apprehension when I roll the spoon over and it kind of looks like a hunk of beehive or something, because that's just where the beans pressed into the fat, and it really threw me off there for a second. I was like, what in the fuck am I looking at? I don't know if I'm putting that in my mouth. That's just a hunk of fat, or maybe some bean hunk or something that the beans were pressing into. Oh, hell with it. We'll stuff a little bit of this bean stuff in our face. Let's check this out. We got some beans. We got some fat going on in there. They're obviously seasoned with meat in a savory sauce, and then there's some oil in there to up the fat content of this little side dish here. That's actually not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. I think it would have been way better hot. It's remarkably flavorless. It looks kind of like barbecued baked beans, but it's totally not. It's just very fatty beans in some kind of like meat fat and some added oils. Not a whole lot of seasoning going on in here. It's definitely going to be a nice little calorie hit, but as far as like flavor, it's not really very flavorful at all. Just kind of tastes like fatty beans. Definitely should have heated that up. That's a real bummer. Let's tuck in to this pearled barley and beef. Now, I meant it when I said it, that this pearled barley is some pretty healthy looking stuff. Nice large individual grains. It's not all just kind of like solidified together into one big gelatinous grain mass, but there is a nice close-up of that pearled barley with beef. That is actually really good looking mane. Let me get a bite of that in the face. The civilian and the military Russian kashas are very different. That is extraordinarily greasy. I know I added a couple of teaspoons of the meat juice to that, but it's extremely, extremely greasy, like unpleasantly greasy. Maybe we can cut that, hopefully, we can cut that with some salt and pepper, because I'm telling you, it just leaves it with a greasy mouthfeel, which quite honestly isn't the greatest. Like, you can certainly pull this dish off, have a high fat content, and not have that weird greasy feeling in your mouth. They did not achieve that with this particular mane. It is certainly extremely greasy, so much so to the point where it's unpleasant. Let's tuck in here to another big old spoonful of this kasha and see if the salt and pepper helps. I highly doubt it did. I don't think salt and pepper is going to help with greasiness, but we'll get another mouthful just to check it out. I think it's a lot more bearable because of the salt. The salt makes your mouth salivate. I did put a pretty decent portion of salt on there. So the salt makes your mouth more wet just simply from salivating. So it helps kind of cut the greasiness a little bit. Really high fat content, which normally I would applaud in especially a winter ration, but that just, it's not pleasant. Like, I'm going to eat it because I bought it, and it's not hateful. It's just not great. I've had some kasha that will literally knock your socks off. This is not one of them. And makes you wonder exactly what fat did they use that makes it that greasy and, just kind of weird, like almost unnaturally greasy. Like, is this just secretly like some kind of industrial lubricant, like leftover tank oil? Who knows? Who knows? The kasha definitely takes on a much better flavor when you start to add some of this beef to it. Now, this beef is not, as I stated before, the highest quality piece of beef you're ever going to see in a can, but this is not a meat booger like my last Russian civilian ration. This actually has some texture and is really just a piece of pot roast in a can, which isn't too bad. Lots of connective tissue, some fatty bits in there, all slow cooked down to where they're nice and tender. Let's get a big old slurp of that meat booger. And though that piece of beef may not look great, it has a really great taste, a lot like your standard pot roast. With all that fat and connective tissue that it's cooked with, it really makes this beef taste amazing. And I'll be honest, it's really the taste and the texture of this beef that's going to make this kasha a whole lot easier to put down, because that greasy aftertaste or that greasy after bite of that kasha is kind of a little disturbing. And that's not surprising. The beef that is in the kasha has much less flavor than the stewed beef. This was just cooked by itself in its own juices in that can. Turned out really amazing. For something that's this ugly, it really does taste good. And that's a really gelatinous piece there. Lots of connective tissue, maybe some veins. Who knows? Whatever it is, it's snotty, it's clingy, it's connective tissue. It's probably going to taste amazing. We're going to mix that piece up there with some kasha, and we're going to throw that old booger in the face. Texture-wise, that piece of meat was a little off-putting, but the taste, oh man, that taste was out of this world. If you find yourself in possession of some Russian civilian kasha, my recommendation is eat that shit while it's warm, because when this starts to get cold, it's going to harden up and it's going to be really nasty. As it loses temperature, it gets harder and harder to deal with that greasy mouth feeling. I'm really trying hard to put this back as quickly as possible so it doesn't lose any more temperature than it already has. Coming down to the last bite of this kasha, I really realized the only thing that stops this kasha from actually being good is the amount or type of fat that they used and added to this. That greasy mouth feeling, it's just really unpleasant. The grains and the meat, aside from the stewed beef that I added to it, the grains are really nice, cooked really perfectly inside of the can with a little bit more seasoning and a little less motor oil. This would have been a really amazing kasha, but they kind of fucked it up by putting whatever industrial lubricant in here that made it that damn greasy. Wow. I mean, absolutely wow. Let's see if we can add some of this fatty bean mixture to one of these crackers, see if that makes it a little bit more interesting. Just kind of an odd concoction. Just like fatty beans with a tiny little bit of meat here and there in it. Just light red kidney beans and not much seasoning. Kind of weird. I mean, the crackers help make it more interesting because of the texture. And look, beans are really high in calories and protein and all that other stuff. And they give you the farts, which is fun to share with people. But I think a second pate would have been a hell of a lot better than just a random can of underwhelmingly seasoned beans. Just my humble opinion. Maybe there's some part of this bean equation that I'm missing because I didn't heat it up. But I don't think you're going to bring much more seasoning out of that just by adding temperature to it. And you know you want to see that last bite of these fatty-ass beans, because I don't know what else to call them. Just fatty-ass beans. All right, let's give our little milk action another stir, see if we can get that all incorporated. It is really resisting being mixed, which is kind of spooky. Maybe you should have used hot water, but most milk powder is easily mixed into cold water. This stuff is fighting me every step of the way. We'll let that milk think about itself while we get a sip of this excellent, super dependable Russian black tea. And that Russian black tea will never let you down. It's absolutely yummy. Let's try to reincorporate this soup a little bit. We've just kind of left this soup all lonely, all by itself, chilling out there at the top of the tray while I was busy consuming a shit ton of grease. So check that out. Nice, vibrant, bright yellow color. Let's give that a taste. That is really interesting. Let me give that another sip. That would be a really excellent soup. On a cold day, I have to admit. A soup definitely has an undertone of the yellow pea flavor. It does have a hint of some kind of smoked meat. The seasoning blend in that is perfectly savory, absolutely amazing. Looks like we have a few little teeny tiny carrot hunks floating around in there. This is just a really nice, savory, mildly pea flavored instant soup, which is actually not too shabby. I think I literally just hit the oh shit button on my stomach. You know, that oh shit, I'm so full, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with myself, but that's okay. Pressing on, we're going to check out some of this chocolate nut spread. This stuff is definitely set up quite a bit, maybe even dried out. That's all right. Or maybe it's just a really off-brand of the normal chocolate nut spread you get in a Russian ration. Let's check this out, see what it's all about. Wow, that is crazy. Absolutely off the hook sweet. Way sweeter than any ration item ever really needs to be. Like if you have a sweet tooth, just one cracker with a good portion of this chocolate nut spread on there will knock that sweet tooth right out of you. It's actually going to be really hard to put down this whole container because it is so over the top sweet. It just, it's almost like sickly sweet. I shudder to think how many calories are in that if this stuff is that deeply infused with chocolate, sugar, and nuts. Oh my god. It definitely has a really pleasant chocolate hazelnut flavor. The problem is getting past the sweetness. The chocolate hazelnut flavor is almost an aftertaste because it's so sweet. It just kind of assaults your taste buds as soon as it hits your mouth. Just this crazy, overwhelming sweetness. And then on the back end of it, you start to get some of that chocolate and hazelnut flavor. Really good. Crazy sweet. Maybe if I'm lucky, I can cut down some of this sweetness with some of those peanuts, because this shit, oh my god. Like, I like sweet stuff, but wow, this is insanely sweet. This is like something they would give you to, like, check you for diabetes. Like, here, eat this stuff, and if your blood sugar doesn't skyrocket through the roof, you must be okay. Give that a healthy sprinkle of some nice savory peanuts. And that is a field expedient Russian chocolate nut cookie. Wow. Holy shit, wow. That was really good, but the peanuts just kind of got lost in the background. It almost really tastes like a piece of chocolate with nuts in it. Like, the nuts were certainly an afterthought. You would need a whole lot more peanuts to cut down the sweetness of this chocolate spread. Whew, they are not holding back on the sugar content, that is for sure. And we're running out of options, and we need something to use this sweetened condensed milk on. So let's just add insult to injury. Put a little sweetened condensed milk on that chocolate nutty mess and get that in my face before it just spills all over my shirt. That was actually pretty goddamn amazing. Tastes like some kind of crazy, overly sweet, nutty candy bar. All right, let's get some more of that sweetened condensed on there because we got to try to figure out exactly what to do with all this stuff. I mean, aside from just sucking out of the tube, which is pretty damn yummy on its own. And before it drips all over me, well, mission failed. Take a look at that little slice of diabetes. All right, can we even get this in the face without it getting on my shirt? Probably not. Oh shit, here we go. And just in case you were wondering, yes, there is now sweetened condensed milk in my beard, and it dribbled down my shirt. You can put that mental picture together for yourself, because I don't want to. So this would be a great time to check out a moist towelette, because Lord knows I need one right now, with Mr. Chocolate Sticky Fingers going on over here. So let's hope that these moist towelettes are actually moist this time, which they certainly are. Nice stretchy fabric. I'm so sticky I kind of need to use it and then talk about it afterwards. And since I completely soiled that one, we'll open up one more just so we can get a good look at it. This was actually a decent moist towelette. The cloth, the fabric this is made out of is pretty strong, not too bad. It's a little bit flimsy when you're trying to use it to wash specific areas, but that's okay. It's just a moist towelette. This thing, however, does smell like nothing, which is crazy that you have a civilian ration in which the towelette smells like nothing, and then military rations where you smell like dirty old grandma afterwards. I've got to try to do something with this mess of milk I've made over here. Tell you what, maybe milk plus sugar plus milk and sugar will equal milkshake? I'm not really sure. We're going to see if we can add all this stuff in there and get it all kinds of mixed up and see if we have like a super calorie dense milkshake. All right, so let's see if we can salvage the last of this mess that I've made over here. And while that is thinking about itself, let's open up one of these hand warmers and check that out, see if this thing is still working. It's a really cool concept just to have some randomly cool items like these hand warmers in a ration. We'll give that just a minute to start doing its thing, shake it up, get some air going around in there. We'll see you in a second. All right, and before it separates again, let me get a taste of this, I don't know, monstrous milkshake I've made over here. Feast your eyes on that mess. Let's get a little sip. That's chunky. Didn't mix up very well. As you could imagine, it's extraordinarily sweet. And it kind of sort of tastes like one of those military-ish drinks you'd get where nothing ever really mixes up real well. I would say if I had this to do over again, I certainly would have heated up the water, mixed it with the milk, let that completely break down, all this chunkiness, added the sugar, maybe even some sweet and condensed, maybe even a hunk of that crazy sweet chocolate, and just made like a hot, milky chocolate drink. And even if I let it cool, I think it would have had a better consistency than trying to mix this up cold. This weird chunkiness, the milk is not bad. It's still perfectly good. It just doesn't want to mix up with cold water for some reason. Okay, remember how I told you guys just a little while ago, my stomach hit the oh shit button? My stomach just hit the fuck you button. Like that is, don't know that I'm getting anything else in this face without dramatic repercussions. So this hand warmer, it's sort of working. It's a little bit warm. I'll tell you what, if it was frosty freezing outside, this little bit of warmth would be greatly appreciated on your fingers. I mean, these things have the production date listed on them as 9 of 2023. I mean, maybe they're out of date. These things normally last a lot longer than that. But like I said, this thing is just warm, but inside of a closed pocket, when it's freezing outside, this little bit of warm could really be a digit saver. And I forgot to take a sip of this drink. It tastes like roses and cotton candy. It's really good. Let me get a sip. And that is the same flavor, really amazing. And if I wasn't so full right now that I was getting ready to like lose the contents of my stomach on the table, I would drink more of it. Well, everybody, that was dinner. Although I may officially have diabetes, I have to say I am absolutely in no way, shape, or form hungry. As you could imagine, that is a lot of food to put down in a day. I will probably take a nibble on those crackers because I feel responsible to eat as many of them as possible, although I really feel like the contents of my stomach could easily eject out onto the table if I moved too violently at this point. This was certainly a ton of food. Dinner wasn't all that in a bag of chips. There were some interesting items. That stuff was overly sweet. The beans were under-seasoned. The kasha would have been great if it wasn't made with industrial-grade lubricant. The crackers were just fine. Sweetened condensed milk was awesome. That powdered milk needed some help, but that's okay. It turned out pretty good. Tea is awesome. Soup was interesting. That drink is fucking amazing. And this hand warmer, well, it just kind of works and it gets kind of warm. So thank you guys for joining me here on Ration Nerd, where we sucked down 5,037 calories of Russian winter ration today. This was certainly very interesting. They hooked me with the coffee and the sweetened condensed milk, and then it just kind of let me down with some half-ass Russian civilian-style mains. I tell you what, if they could nail down getting the kasha correct and not giving you a big fat beef booger, this would be an epic ration. And even though some of the mains were kind of wonky, I still really enjoyed this. And this was certainly a lot of fun. And just remember, the bat and the bucket is your friend. And if you want to have some friends with a bucket, you know what you need to do. You need to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And if you're feeling generous, and you should be because I'm about to vomit, talk to me in the chat. It's always great to hear from you guys. And until next time, you know how this shit goes. If you can find something cooler than this Russian winter ration to stuff in your face hole, and let me tell you, that shit ain't easy because there's a lot of food in this box, you know what to do. Eat them up.
Oh, I've got to put my pants. It's totally time to vomit. Oh my god.